Good morning, everybody. I'm Jeremy Hyten, Executive Director of the North Shore Business Improvement Association. I'd like to thank you for joining us for today's Power Hour Business Development Seminar. Our President, Bryce Herman's on the call. Bryce, do you have a brief comment for everybody?
Sure do. Looks like I'm unmuted now, so that's a good thing. So people will be able to hear me. I just wanted to take the opportunity to again thank Aleece and the team for being part of our Power Hour. I believe this is session 6, or is it 7? We're in that range, but really know that these are very useful tools for people in the business community that will be recorded and pulled down later. So thank you for that contribution. And a huge thanks to Jeremy for the vision and motivation to pull this all together with the team at the NSBIA. So thank you, and I'll turn it back to you, Jeremy.
Thank you very much. So as we all know, this week we've seen many new opportunities for opening businesses, as well as some challenges in the face of increased operating costs. As we field more questions regarding how to bring those precious clients back to the doorstep, it's a perfect time to talk about building brand, which enhances the client relationship. So our speaker today, primary speaker today, is Aleece Laird. She's the owner of Amplify Consulting Limited, a company that allows her to work with businesses and organizations just like you all to clarify their message and amplify their impact. Aleece is passionate about communications and stakeholder engagement because she knows how conversations with stakeholders can elevate the work you do as a business or a nonprofit, and how having a clear message helps people do business with you. I want you to think for a moment about your company's mission statement. I want you to picture yourself as Mel Gibson in Braveheart. Yes, the wild stallion that he was. You're on the horse on the edge of the battlefield, and the sons of Scotland are all listening to your impassioned speak to potentially give up their lives for their cause. Now picture your job as a leader. Your role is to effectively communicate and lead your colleagues into battle, inspire your customers to do business with you. The battlefield's ready, you're ready. And then with all the energy and passion you can muster, you shout from the top of your voice the amazing mission statement of your company that not only directs what you do, but is meant to inspire. And as an example for you, Amazon's mission statement is, and I'll try my best Scottish brogue because Aleece asked me.
It was your best Braveheart, Jeremy. Come on.
Our mission is to constantly raise the bar of the customer experience by using the internet and technology to help consumers find, discover, and buy anything, and empower businesses and content creators to maximize their successes. And subsequently, the sons of Scotland turn to go home, hordes of England prevail, and no businesses are successful. Anyway, in today's talk, Aleece will help share how you can better clarify your message to amplify the impact of you and your company. Aleece, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. So what screen are you seeing right now? You're seeing number 1?
There you are.
Perfect. You got Braveheart. Awesome. Jeremy, that was beyond my expectations of what I was hoping for, really. So I'm hoping that all of you, I mean, Amazon is an incredible company, don't get me wrong. And I'm hoping that all of you were able to grab onto that mission statement, and you were just so motivated to do the job, to raise the bar of customer expectations. And I'm trying to remember what it was. Anyhow, that's kind of what happens with companies. They get kind of so caught up in themselves. And today we're going to talk about your brand and how you can help clarify your message to help amplify your impact. So what I want for you today is I want you to leave this 1-hour webinar. There'll be time for Q&A and everything. I want you to leave this feeling inspired that there are other ways. I mean, you've got successful businesses or nonprofits or organizations that you're running. I want you to walk away from this going, okay, there's more that we can do to inspire people to work with us. And then I want also for you to feel encouraged that there are a lot of things that you can do on your own. I'll give you some resources and tools to help to clarify that message and then amplify your communications. Yes, I have a job doing this, and so people pay me, organizations work with our team to do this. But the thing is that if you can even take away a few key things today, I think it's going to make things better for you. So I'll go over, I've got 3 screens happening, so I'm going to be operating over here and then having some of my notes over here as well. So I'm hoping you're going to see the next screen, which is our agenda. So I like to consider myself an agenda not fanatic, but I am all about agendas. So Deb McClelland, who is the previous executive director of the Kamloops Chamber of Commerce and now owns Onboard Governance Training, was all about agendas. She said she will never show up to a meeting without an agenda, and I 100% agree, because an agenda, I don't ever want to hold you hostage. I want you to know what's coming. So there's the introduction, which we're kind of actually doing right now. We're going to talk about knowing your purpose, clarifying your message, amplifying your impact. And then Sean Lewis, who is the executive director of the Phoenix Center, has graciously, I saw her name on the list actually about a week and a half ago. And I said, Sean, we've gone through this together. I would love for you to be able to talk a little bit about the work Amplify did for the Phoenix Center. So if you would join me and do a Q&A, and she graciously agreed to do that. So we're going to hear from Sean in a bit as well. And then we're going to ideally have some time for questions and answers as well. All right. So I want you to think about what you do. So the five words all strung into a sentence, which are really challenging for business and organizational leaders to say, is what do you do? So for example, if you're an accountant, if someone says, well, what do you do for a living? I'm an accountant, I own this company or this firm or whatever that looks like. But the thing is most people understand what an accountant does, but at the same time, you might be an accountant that is actually proficient in tax accounting. And so you would be able to save hundreds of thousands, maybe, of dollars for your clients. But if you don't have a clear message to explain to them what the driest topic potentially on earth is of tax accounting, then you're not going to have a chance to work with people to be able to help them save money and to do better in life. Maybe you're a graphic designer. And maybe with graphic design, people think, oh, well, you make pretty pictures and you make pretty logos. But as a graphic designer, if you're able to express to people what you do and how the work that you do in graphic design is able to make people connect better with companies, and they have more confidence in a company because of their overall branding, if you're able to describe that to somebody, it makes your chances of success in helping do something other than just making pretty pictures, helping customers thrive and to build businesses, that much more doable. So I want, and it's an interactive portion of this. So I want you can show of hands or not, how many of you feel like when someone asks you what you do for a living or what your organization does, you can tell them in a short and easy explanation? Okay, we got a few hands, that's good. How many of you wish you could actually do this better? All right, we got a few more hands, that's great. How many of you have told people what you do and you get this response? Okay, I'm putting my hand up for this. Perfect example. So I am a director on the BC Chamber of Commerce, and we had our 68th annual AGM and conference, and I'm now the chair of the board of directors. And so my parents see this picture of me with this regal chain, and my parents are like, oh, so what are you doing now? I'm like, oh, well, I'm the chair of the BC Chamber. And I started to explain to them what a chamber does. And I could see my dad's eyes kind of glazing over. It's not that my dad doesn't care about me and doesn't want to know, but if you don't have a way to clearly describe what it is that you do, people have to burn calories to understand. So this is going to be a great resource for you. If you have a pen and paper, if you're going to take any notes, take a note to buy this book. So I had the opportunity of going to actually see Donald Miller and to attend one of his seminars in Seattle a couple of years ago. And it was amazing. So one of the things that Donald Miller says is that when people ask you, what do you do for a living, or what does your organization do? If you can't clearly say what you do, you're going to cause confusion. And what he also says is that your messaging needs to pass the grunt test. So if a caveman can understand what you do for a living, then you can pass the grunt test of understanding. It's a fun way of putting it. So at the Donald Miller seminar, he had a couple of volunteers come up. So I was chosen to go up, and another lady as well. And he had this really great analogy. So there was this one lady who I had to ask her questions about what she did for a living. So I was standing there, she was standing there, and I said, so what do you do for a living? And she started to describe, well, we are a nonprofit organization, and we sell artisan crafts but we also teach people as well how to make their own artisan crafts so that we can then take the proceeds and donate the money to an organization in Uganda, which helps young women who also make artisan crafts. And so Donald Miller's like, stop right there. And he grabs a bowling ball and he puts the bowling ball in my hand. He goes, okay, hold on to this. And it was like the 10, what is it? One of the fingers, like for 10 pin bowling. So I'm holding this heavy bowling ball. And he goes, okay, start again, but clarify your message. And so the lady said, well, we have an organization that does artisanal crafts. And she's like struggling. She's like, it's really great because it really helps women in Uganda also do. And he goes, okay, she's burning calories. This is not passing the grunt test. He grabs another bowling ball and he gives it to me. So I'm holding 2 heavy balls and he goes, now try it again. Clarify your message. And so she's like, okay, we help women in Uganda make their own artisanal crafts, but we also sell them back here in the US of A to help make money. And so then he's like, okay, stop. And then he was like, he grabs another bowling ball to give it to me as well. And he's like, I'm not going to make you hold this. But the idea is that if you are not being clear in your messaging, you are giving people a lot to think about. And it's like he gave an example of being at a dinner party. So when someone says, or not a dinner party, but like a cocktail party. So we've all been there. And you meet somebody new and they're like, oh, hey, Bryce, how are you? Oh, good. Your name is Aleece. So what do you do for a living? Now I start to tell Bryce what I do for a living. Meanwhile, the bacon wrapped scallops that the server has, or the glasses of wine or whatever, is coming in behind me. And I have to compete with bacon wrapped scallops for Bryce's attention at what I do to try to get him to remember what I do. And maybe he would be an ideal customer of mine. So again, try not to make people burn calories when they are trying to understand what your message is. If you can pass that grunt test, that's pretty huge. So one of the things I want you to think about is, what's your purpose? So before we even talk about branding and communications, I believe the first step for you to do is to really understand your purpose. And I believe that it can change over time. So for me, it's simple. And you might laugh at this. I want to use my skills in communication to help everybody. Now I know I can't help everybody. And I want to help everybody all the time. And I know that's impossible, but I've figured out a solution of how I can help everybody all the time with my skills in communication. Is that I see, and this is why Amplify actually exists, I see business leaders and organizational leaders who make tremendous impact. So I look at Val, what you and your organization does, Sean, what you and your organization does, Leo, and the work that Broadcast Center does to impact community. So if I can work with business leaders and organizational leaders like you to help you clarify your messaging so that your ideal customers know exactly what it is you do and they're able to easily do business with you, then ideally that will amplify your impact. So really, I can help everybody all the time. So if you're an amazing nonprofit, having a clear message will help align people within the community who really go, man, the work that you're doing is tremendous. How can I get involved and how can I work with you? If you're an awesome business who makes life better for people, you'll give people an opportunity to know, oh, I know exactly what it is you do. You know what? I have a friend, or I've been looking for something like this. And when you can have that breakthrough in clarity and communications, that's pretty amazing. So going back to your purpose is really key of why you got into what you're doing. And I mean, this isn't meant to be not a motivational speech at all, but before you get into that branding and kind of down that road, if you're able to think to yourself, why am I actually waking up in the morning to do this? And because I believe you can trade your time for money doing virtually anything. So as I tell the team of people that I work with, I'm like, you can trade your time for money doing anything. So you might as well do it for something that you love and that has impact on the world. So a lot of you are leaders of organizations and businesses. Really think about what that purpose is. I don't know, maybe you'll have a career change, maybe you won't, maybe it'll fuel you to continue on. So one of the things I'd like you to write down is this: when I clarify my message, I can amplify my impact. All right, so I'll give you a moment to write that down. When I clarify my message, I can amplify my impact. So now I want you to think about this. What is the impact I want to make? Why did you get into doing what you're doing in the first place? So that kind of comes back to that purpose. What is that impact that you want to make in the world? The amazing thing that I think about entrepreneurs is that they have this unbelievable opportunity to make change and to innovate and to advocate and to inspire. We're really looking at a lot of business people right now and organizational leaders who through these COVID times have done remarkable things. And so these people, if driven properly by that purpose and wanting to make that impact in the world, can do incredible things. So for example, I think of my children who are 16 and 14-year-old teenage boys, trying to inspire them, and they're in school. And so our eldest is in grade 10. And so he's kind of at a time in life right now where going to university or going to trades or training or whatever, that's kind of in the murky horizon for him. So what is he going to do? And so I say to McLean, I'm like, you need to do something that fuels you. What is your purpose in life? Like, what is your purpose in life right now? Because it's going to change. But what do you want to do with your life? And what is the impact that you want to make? Because I express to my boys all the time that if you don't understand what that is, then you're going to feel like this every day. Bill Murray, every day, Groundhog Day, waking up, same time, blah, 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 not fun. So now that we've talked a little bit about purpose, because I think that's really important for you to understand, the next part of it is clarifying your message. So we want people like you with purpose and who want to make tremendous impact to be able to clarify that message and to do so. So one of the things that I want to encourage you to do is to keep it simple, but I don't want you to keep it too simple. This is an example of too simple. Now you're going to think I'm crazy. Yes. Nike is a probably billion-dollar corporation. Who am I, Aleece of Amplify Consulting, to actually say Nike isn't doing a great job? They are doing a great job. But when you keep it too simple like Nike, you better have millions and millions and millions of dollars and years of time and ad agencies in multiple countries to be able to really tell people what this swoosh actually means. And the term just do it, just do what? Nike can get away with this because, like I say, they have millions of dollars of advertising that they can utilize to be able to have that impact. But I don't know, maybe some of you, show of hands, who here has millions of dollars in advertising dollars to be able to spend? Because Leo is watching right now, right, Leo? You're checking the cameras like, who has millions of dollars right now? So again, just do it is almost too simple. I will share with you that, because we're all friends, that with Amplify Consulting, my tagline originally for the company was make greater. And honest to God, I've been in branding, marketing, communications for decades. And so make greater was my tagline. I'm like, that's simple and it's beautiful. But honestly, it's Amplify Consulting and make greater. Okay, so we know she wants to amplify something. We know she does consulting. Make greater what? Bread? Make greater floral arrangements? Honestly, it was, I don't even know what that actually meant. If I said she wants to make greater impact through clear communications, at least you'd have an idea that it's a communications company. So so that's the whole point of simplicity. And then there's the point of maybe confusion. So I'm really hoping that this works. A few years ago, this ad ran during the Super Bowl. So let me see if I can get this to play. I should have, oh, here we go. So let's just watch it, and I'm gonna ask a few questions after.
This man right here is my great-grandfather. He's the first cat herder in our family. Herding cats. Don't let anybody tell you it's easy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anybody can herd cattle. Holding together 10,000 half-wild short hairs. Well, that's another thing altogether. Being a cat herder is probably about the toughest thing I think I've ever done.
I got this one this morning, right here. And if you look at his face, it's just ripped to shreds, you know?
You see the movies, you hear the stories. I'm living a dream. Not everyone can do what we do.
I wouldn't do nothing else.
It ain't an easy job, but when you bring a herd into town and you ain't lost to one of them, ain't a feeling like it in the world.
EDS, managing the complexities of the digital economy. This man right here is my.
Okay, so skill testing question here. Can any of you tell me who the company is, what they do, and what you might call them for? So we just watched an incredibly entertaining commercial about cat herding. And actually, I mean, this commercial is a number of years old. So it was funny. People talked about, oh, did you see that cat herding commercial? Oh, that was hilarious. Who is the commercial for? Nobody knows. I mean, the thing is with communications is that you can be too simple, but then you can also be spending your marketing dollars entertaining people, which is also incredibly hard, unless, again, you've got millions of dollars that you want to use to entertain. So one of the things that I look at is that the company is called eds.com. I looked them up online. They must have rebranded, or they're not in business, or whatever that is, because I couldn't actually find them anymore. And one of the things is about them is that I love this. It's like, what does managing the complexities of the digital economy even mean? So when you think of it, brilliant commercial, like, you know that the ad agency won awards for that. And it was talked about, and it was probably played in YouTube, the best Super Bowl commercials. But do you think that it drove business sales? Do you think that it actually added clarity to their messaging? I would hazard a guess, probably not. So this was my kind of like, I don't know, I'm not exactly too sure what they're saying. So this is where the Donald Miller framework comes in. So when you buy the book, and I don't make any money for Donald Miller, I probably should, but it's probably the reason that I'd like to talk about this as far as clarifying your message is that it is likely the best framework that I've ever seen in my career in communications. And so it's very simple, and it looks just like this. So you will maybe find it a challenge to do this on your own. And that's usually where you hire somebody who's a professional. But honestly, give it a shot and go through something like this. I'm going to walk you through it now so that there's a little bit more understanding for you. So what we're going to do is, you'll see at first there's the character of the story. And so the character has a problem. And that character with the problem meets a guide, somebody who is going to help them walk through what their challenge is. The guide, with all of their 20 years experience and knowledgeable professional staff, are going to give them a plan, because the character, the hero of our story, just wants to get through this and get to the solution. So they give them a plan, and they call them to action. So we're going to talk a little bit about clarifying your message and your calls to action as well, because if you don't ask people to do business with you, they're not going to. And then, because of this story brand framework, there are two outcomes that can happen based for the hero. One is that the story is going to end in success. All is going to be wonderful. The other one is that the story is going to end in failure. And failure is an important part of what we need to talk about. So the first part of it then is to start with the hero of the story. So if you are the leader of a nonprofit organization, who is the hero of the story? When you're sharing your messaging, who are you actually talking to? What are the challenges that they have? And a big hint, the hero is not you. So you'll hear a number of ads, you'll see ads on television, you'll read ads in newspaper, and they're all really talking about how great the product or the service is. And even you'll go back to your own mission statement, and you may cringe, you may not, but it's all about we do this, we do this, we do that. It's like we. The language, if we can shift it and clarify our messaging so that we can then talk directly to the hero of the story, we're in it to help solve problems for people. That's the purpose, and that's the impact that we want to have. So flipping that on its head a little bit is going to be very impactful for you. So let's do a bit of a case study. We are going to climb Mount Everest. All right. That looks unbelievably intimidating and cold and horrible, and people do it. So let's meet Jeff. Jeff is the hero of our story. So Mount Everest is referred to as the roof of the world. And if you check any website out there, I did a couple of these in preparing for this presentation for you. The rough price of getting a guided tour up Everest is probably around 70,000 to 90,000 US. So it's definitely not just something that people go, you know what, I think I'm going to climb Mount Everest next year. It's something that people have to plan for. So this is Jeff. He's the hero of our story. So Jeff, he's in his mid-40s. He's climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. He has gone skydiving. He's gone scuba diving off the Great Barrier Reef. he's a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, and Everest is like, it's that piece of that piece, or that item in his bucket list that he wants to accomplish. And so if we go to the Donald Miller framework, now we've met Jeff. He's our character. So, but Jeff, who wants to climb Everest, he has a problem. And the problem is he doesn't know where to start. So obviously he can go to a number of different websites and he can check that out. But he really wants to have somebody who is going to really look after the details for him so that he can accomplish a dream. So this is where, in our story, he meets the guide. So this is Ed. Ed has summited Everest twice, and he owns a great touring company. And Ed has done a great job in clarifying the message of his company. When you go to their website, you will see climbers climbing Mount Everest. So it's obviously, this is what we're doing. We show pictures, not making people guess what we're doing by being creative. And the tagline is simple. It says, guiding Everest since 1992. Yes, of course they do expeditions like this, and of course you want to work with an expert guide, but this company of Ed's gives you your best shot at summiting the mountain. So they've got a couple of other beauty shots in there too. Of course, you're going to have to wear these masks so that you can actually breathe at such elevations. But to grab people's attention, you want simplicity. And then once they're interested, that's when you start giving them the information. So the next part in the framework is Ed gives Jeff a plan. And so this is where the simplicity needs to remain. So when you go to the website, you will see that the difficulty to climb Mount Everest is high. Your fitness level needs to be very high. And the duration of an adventure like this is just over 2 months. So you have to be committed to do this. And then of course the elevation is 29,035 feet to be exact, so that you can summit that. So Ed knows that if he can walk Jeff through this and say, we've got a plan. If you fit this criteria, then we want you to apply to join our 2021 team. Obviously, Jeff has noticed that the price is $85,000 US. And if he's still on the website and hasn't been like, I can never afford that, maybe he's planning for it. But at least you give people information up front and you keep it very simple for them. The next part in the framework is Ed calls the hero to action. And this is something that a lot of us, when we clarify our messaging, we aren't brave enough to put on our website and into our messaging as well. And that's the call to action. So this is exactly from this one website that I had gone to. And Ed is a fictitious character. Jeff is probably my husband, who doesn't really want to summit Everest, but I used him anyhow. So you'll notice this is on the website. It's very clean, it's very clear. I mean, there are a million details to climb Mount Everest, and they know that. But if they can walk people through this portion of it, you'll notice at the very bottom, there's this large book now button. So we invite you to apply. So there are all sorts of calls to action that you can use. Join us, register, download our white paper for more information. Here's our frequently asked questions guide. So letting people know that, hey, we know that you may not be hiking Everest this year. You actually can't. You have to apply to join our 2021 team. But we want you to book now, and we want you to be able to join us. So ask us for more information. So then we go on to so we've gone through the framework of the character. Jeff with a problem, doesn't know where to start, meets the guide Ed. Ed gives Jeff a plan, and then Jeff calls him to action. So then now we get to the part of the story where we clarify our messaging, where we get to either success or failure. So the first part I'm going to talk about is failure. So Jeff could choose a cheaper company, and maybe what that experience will bring to him is that he doesn't actually summit because they may not have the guides that have that success rate. So that's kind of like failure for him. So customers need to understand a little bit what failure looks like. So maybe if you don't eat at our restaurant, your family won't have an enjoyable family night out eating food just like grandma used to make. So that's a bit of a failure for you as a parent if you're picking a restaurant to go to. If you don't use our computer repair company, that's okay. But the thing is that we turn computer repairs around quicker. Plus we also have a 10-point checklist to make sure that your computer is not going to have problems. And we guarantee that for 1 year's time. But if you want to use the other guys, you can do that. Maybe you're not connected with the North Shore Business Improvement Association. Well, unfortunately, you're going to miss out on great webinars and learning activities and an opportunity to engage with fellow business and organizational leaders to help grow your business. So failure is kind of like, in telling a story, failure is really the salt that adds the kind of the saltiness and the flavor to a story, but you have to be careful. You don't want to use too much, just like in any good story. Next, the success. So this is what Jeff actually wants. He wants to summit Everest. So he wants to accomplish something that not a lot of people in their lifetime will ever do. He wants to feel the sense of pride. He wants to have these pictures. He wants to be able to show his friends and family, like, look what I did. And it's not about Ed at this point in time. Ed is just the guide helping Jeff to accomplish his dream. So that's really the story brand framework. And this will really help you clarify your message and talk to the right people in the right way. So I'm going to give you a bit of an example here. Kelson Group, awesome company. They have apartment buildings throughout Western Canada. They operate in 10 different cities. Really wonderful, wonderful company. So I worked with their director of marketing. We actually attended the Story Brand Conference together. It was a really fun time. So Kelson Group, and this is their mission statement, and this is actually something that they have still, and that's all good, up in all of the offices. So when you go to meet a building manager and to tour through one of the Kelson Group apartments, you will see this sign. But if we read it, our goal is to be the best property manager in cities we own and operate buildings in. So if you're talking to me, well, I'm in my mid 40s, actually early 40s, I'm not 45 yet. I'm in my early 40s and I am looking for a great place to call home for my family and I. So we are transitioning, we're moving to another location. I want a place that's safe, secure, all these different things. So I look at the Kelson Group website and their goal is to be the best property manager. Well, best, I mean, what does best actually mean? To me, best is that you get back to me within like 20 minutes of my phone call and you've got really great apartments and they're really, really cheap. Maybe that's best to me. So everyone's definition of best is different. And so maybe try not to use best in some of your marketing as well. But then we want to be the best property managers in cities we own and operate buildings in. It doesn't actually tell the customer what they do. So we had the opportunity to kind of clarify that messaging. And what we came up with was apartments to help you live better. So this means for a consumer, they know that, oh, Kelson Group has apartments. Oh, okay. And everything that they do is to help. There's that guide mentality, talking to the hero, to help you live better. So what somebody in their 20s to somebody in their 70s, how they live better is completely different. So if Kelson Group can provide an apartment to help you live better, maybe a patio is something that helps you live better. Maybe having an on-site building manager helps you live better. Everyone's definition of living better is different, but that's what Kelson Group does, is that they offer diversity and all of these different things that you can find the right apartment for you. And so what we have done now is through all of our blogs, social medias, and everything, is putting ourselves talking to the hero of the story. So we do renovations, and the reason we do renovations and update suites every time somebody moves out is to help you live better. We do interior design of our lobbies, and that's to help you live better, because we know that when someone comes to visit you, that's the first place that they're going to see of your home. We do all of these things to help you live better. So going from our goal is to be the best property managers in cities we own and operate buildings in, totally okay, and that's something that they can use in the back end. But when messaging to customers, we have apartments to help you live better. So that is really about the clarifying of the message. And now we're going to talk a little bit about amplifying your impact. So when you can easily answer what you do and you can tell people what you do, now amplifying your impact is where we tell the story. So we know what, now it's where. What are the communication channels that we're going to use? So first, when you're building a communication strategy, you want to know what are your outcomes. So are we trying to drive awareness? Are we a nonprofit who's going to launch a capital campaign? And we want people to understand what we do and why their support is so important. Maybe we have a floral shop and we're just opening on the North Shore of Kamloops, and we want to drive awareness to what we're doing. So thinking about what your outcomes are will really help you spend your advertising and dollars well, or use the communications channels that you have in an effective way. So that's the first step, is knowing the outcomes. It'll help you reach them. So the first thing that we do as an agency or as a company is that we recommend for people to do a communications audit. So the word audit terrifies me as well. But auditing is just looking at what you're doing in terms of communication. So you look at what you do internally. How are we communicating internally to our staff and to our colleagues and our coworkers? And write all of those things down. What are all of the tools that we utilize? And then judge the effectiveness of them. I mean, if you're putting out a newsletter for staff that nobody's picking up or nobody's opening, maybe it's time to ask them what might be valuable to them in a newsletter, or they might tell you, like, I don't have time to read a newsletter, so save yourself there. But doing a communications audit, especially internally, really helps you understand how you can better communicate with your stakeholders at work inside your organization. And then what you would do is you would do the same thing externally. So when you communicate out to the world, what are you using in terms of communication tools? Are you using radio? Are you using TV? Are you using newspaper? Are you using social media? Are you doing a newsletter? Like, what exactly are you doing? There are so many different communications tools. So doing an audit really helps you kind of go, how am I communicating and is it effective? And figuring that out is really key in helping to take that clarified message and steering it in the right direction. The next piece of amplifying your impact is a SWOT analysis. So I learned this in university. This is nothing new. There's nothing new that I'm telling you today, but it's just maybe a little bit of a different take on it and applying it maybe a bit of a different way. So a SWOT analysis stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so we're going to talk in a couple minutes with Sean about this as well. So when you do a SWOT analysis on your own, I mean, I could write down Amplify Consulting. All right, there are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But that's really comes from a place that's internal, and the perception that I have of Amplify and how I think customers are receiving us, what they're thinking about us, what they think we do, all those sorts of things. So this is where stakeholder engagement can be really a good benefit for you. And it's kind of like when you hire somebody else. So when people hire Amplify Consulting to do stakeholder engagement, they are in essence asking us to ask their clients, what are some of the things that you would like to see changed? What are some of the opportunities? Clients are way more willing to talk to us and to tell us some of the challenges that they're having or some of the weaknesses, also some of the strengths, than they would talking to you, because they love you and they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't care if they hurt our feelings. We just tell them, like, everything's on the table. Let us know, because if you tell us something that is not great, we're going to take that and we're really going to help this company grow and do better. So even if there's something negative, please let us know what that is. So doing a SWOT analysis will really help you fine tune what you're doing and go out there with that clarified message and understanding the perception that people have about you too. If people think, if you think you're the greatest nonprofit or business in the world and people are like, their place is dirty or we don't understand the services that they do, and you go out saying, everybody loves us and they know us already and we're going to launch this capital campaign, and you don't get pickup on that, well, no wonder people don't think that you're great. But if you have come from that place of perception of saying, okay, we know that people don't know who we are, so now we need to do an education campaign before we now ask for dollars, that will definitely help you and save you a lot of time and money. So in all of this, we want you to talk to the hero of the story. So we're going to talk to Sean in just a moment as well. And so that's where the stakeholder engagement comes in. Talk to people that are your stakeholders. And so stakeholders, it's funny because my children are like, what is a stakeholder? It's not somebody who holds a piece of steak as they were mistaken. A stakeholder is this. It's your community. So it's if we're talking about Kamloops, it's the community at large. What does the community of Kamloops think about you, your product, service, etc.? And then it's your colleagues and coworkers. And so these people who work internally within your team, they see how things could be done better, and maybe they don't have a voice to be able to share that, or that they don't want to tell you because you're the boss. Interviewing these people will really help you understand and clarify some of the messaging and the communications that you have as well for your brand and for your business. And then customers and clients. So that's the hero of our story. We really want our customers and clients to do business with us. So if we have an opportunity to talk to them and go, how did this go for you? Was this good? Did you find value? How can we improve? That is going to be just incredible. And I found over the past 2 months since COVID-19 that there has been so much more communication between businesses and between their customers than ever before. And people are able to make different changes and to adapt and to innovate. And it's actually really exciting for somebody who thinks that these conversations should be happening more frequently. So now we're going to talk to Sean. Sean, now we're going to put you on the hot seat. I actually gave Sean the questions in advance, so we're not putting Sean on the hot seat. Can everyone hear Sean okay?
Hello.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So welcome, Sean. So Sean came to Amplify Consulting. So Sean, what for you was the challenge that you felt your organization was facing?
Well, I'll give a brief history, just that this organization has been around for more than 40 years. And I walked in the door 9 years ago. And what I discovered was that the first 10 years was very successful for the organization, but the subsequent 20 years, so 2 decades of inconsistent leadership, sort of a falling apart of sorts because contracts were being lost, not to the fault of the organization, just politics of the day. But when I walked through the door, I was on the tail end of that 20 years of sort of the organization sort of forgetting itself, so to speak. And I spent a lot of time just trying to clean up. And then I realized that I was kind of in it alone. We're a small organization insofar as the management structure, just myself and then a part-time finance manager at the time. So why I approached to Amplify, well, I approached you twice actually, Aleece. I came to you a few years ago knowing that I needed help. That as one person, I certainly couldn't get out any messaging that I wanted to, and I wasn't having much success even internally in getting my staff on board. And so I went to Amplify because I knew that we needed to regroup internally. We also needed to get a better sense of what was going on externally to the organization, and I needed to have a partner in helping me do this.
Awesome. So what were some of the things that you didn't know after we engaged with your stakeholders that have been a game changer for you and your board moving forward into your strategic planning?
Well, I didn't know that because in the realm of addiction services, we tend to work with who we work with. And I was making huge assumptions that because we were a regional detox facility, so we cover the whole of the interior health region, which is quite large, all the way up to Williams Lake, all the way over to the east border, down to the south border, that people at the very least would know that we did this detox for people who were struggling with substances. But the information that came back made it clear that some people absolutely had no clue whatsoever who we were or that we even existed. So that was interesting to me. And then for those that did know that we existed, another surprising aha moment was that they might know one program, but only one program. Like they didn't understand that we did more than just detox. Or for those people who are familiar with our youth counseling program, for example, they didn't know that we had other programs beyond just the youth counseling program. And then the other thing was the perception of our funders in particular, because we had been working closely with funders, trying to improve sort of our sustainability going forward. And that relationship had become quite tenuous. And I was still of the mind that we were working together and we were on the same page. And that just was not quite true. So they were pretty big, important pieces for me to wake up to.
Yeah. So I tell people, and it's behind me, be brave, engage. I tell people that engaging stakeholders takes bravery to do that. So why did it take bravery for you to be able to go out to your stakeholders and ask some questions?
Well, there's 3 layers. So as you pointed out, there's internal. So it takes a lot of guts and courage to go to the staff and say in a real way, an authentic way, that I really want to hear what you have to say. And it's not that we don't have an internal mechanisms for that in different ways, but to have an external consulting company come in and take the lead where I'm not controlling that, it takes courage to do that because you don't know what's going to come back. But even the worst, what I might interpret the worst information is also the best information I can have because it's going to guide me in a better direction. And it would be true for the other stakeholders as well, as I mentioned, the funders. So it took a lot of courage to say to the funders, what do you think about us? You know, what do you think about us when it's a confidential survey done by an external consultant? What do you have to say to Phoenix Center? So it took courage in that respect. And I think my board of directors, they had to be courageous as well, because I think that was a big struggle for me for a long time, was getting my board to come along with me and approve this process. So like I said, this was my second time bringing Aleece's proposal forward to them. And they took it on the second time around, and my hat's off to them, because it was hard for them to stand up and be seen, and for people to know this is the board, this is who's heading this organization. So when things come back that don't look real pretty, it's hard, but like I say, it's an opportunity at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 more questions for you. What was the biggest takeaway for your team in finding clarity in your messaging? So I know one of the things.
I've got a visual.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? The light's reflecting off.
I can see it a bit. You're gonna have to read it to us, I think.
So we found that in our mission was very not Braveheart. It was not something that you could say. I couldn't even tell you what it was. So we not only changed our mission, but we changed our vision statement. And our vision is really powerful, and the staff have just gotten on board. So it created clarity for them in a way that they could put in 3 words. They can state what is true for them in their work. We have very passionate staff who know exactly what they're doing and exactly why they do it. But like you were saying, Aleece, when somebody comes up to somebody and says, well, what is it you do? And, you know, now we have this very basic vision that is help, hope, heal. And it speaks to many layers. You know, there's the helping, you know, people coming to us for help. And then there's the hope, you know, staff, and you know, all these apply to everybody, but there's the hopefulness that comes along with the client, the hopefulness that's in the staff themselves for the help that they can then extend to the clients. And then of course, healing being that ultimate heal. That's why people come here. They want to heal. That's why staff do what they do, because they hope that people can heal. And that's why the community is interested in us, because we are an agency when it comes to the issue of substance use that is not only helping people, but creating hope and ultimately healing people.
Yes, love it. That's awesome.
I wanted to have my Braveheart face paint on there, but
you're wearing a blue and white striped shirt.
Yeah, there we go.
Pretty darn close.
Yeah, and even the our mission statement, before I couldn't even tell you what it was, and now I know it is to provide substance use services and advocacy for individuals, families, and communities. It's awesome. Very straightforward. It's very clear, and it doesn't leave people going.
Exactly. Yeah. So what are your next steps, Sean? What are you and the board doing now? Because I know you're working with JP in terms of...
Right. Yeah, so we've done a portion of our work with JP Baker. So he's a consultant in town who we engaged in a strategic planning session with him. And I have to say, this strategic planning was absolutely entirely different than the subsequent strategic planning I've dragged the board along into. This strategic planning, because of the work that we've done with you, Aleece, the board was enthused. They were excited. They were kind of called to action, so to speak. So they came in with a different mindset into that strategic planning, and they're the ones who crafted that vision and that mission. And we also came out with a strategic framework, and we've got 3 priorities on here. I know you won't be able to see it, but it's very clear. So that's what's come out of the work with Aleece, is just a much more enthusiastic strategic planning process where we've created a lot of clarity for ourselves, and it's doable. You know, this is the first time I've had a strategic plan where I'm going, okay, this is making sense for me. And also we're going to be doing another project with JP Baker specifically around sustainability and our financial picture, which is really powerful, a lot of work, but I feel like we have the courage now to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Clarity, right? And I mean, that's the thing, is like, you look at the Phoenix Center and the work that your organization does, like the purpose behind what was started so many years ago, And the opportunity to clarify that message to have that amplified impact is amazing. And that's really, I'm so glad that you came on with us today, because it really helps organizations go, okay, I understand more because of this practical application. So thanks, Sean. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
I'll send you some Braveheart makeup.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we'll wear it together next time.
Right on.
So I'm going to go through just a couple. We'll make sure we get you out of here on time. We've got a couple minutes. So really, the 4 points, trying to keep it simple, 4 points that I want you to take away from this is I really want you to clarify your message. So pick up the Donald Miller Building a Story brand book. It's such a great resource. He has so many different tools online. You can take Business Made Simple University. I'm just the biggest fan because it is so simple and it works. That's the key. Next is engage your stakeholders. Be brave, engage. Get out there and hire somebody if you can afford to do so, or even have your teams do this. But talk to your stakeholders. Figure out what challenges they're having, what they would like to see. Next is build a communication strategy. Understand what your outcome is that you want to achieve. And now when you have that clarified messaging, then you can take what you have clarified and you can communicate it in the right channels. And then amplify your impact. So that is huge. That's where the reason you get up in the morning to make change in the world, now you can actually do that. So you heard from Sean saying she has a strategic plan. She actually goes, okay, I think I know what we're gonna do. So that is really awesome. That makes me, who wants to help everybody all the time, really happy. So we're gonna open it up for questions right now. I know we only have 4 minutes, so it's gonna be super quick. One more thing, if I could, I'm just gonna put it onto the next screen, is because I'm on the BC Chamber of Commerce, if you go to bcmindreader.com and sign up, this is an opportunity for when the BC Chamber sends out surveys, and Jeremy does a great job of sharing this as well from the North Shore BAA. It's an opportunity for you to share your voice so that we can take the collective voices of British Columbia and go and talk to government. So some of the policies that the government has rolled out in COVID-19 days, we've been able to say, hey, there's this survival runway, but businesses are telling us that you need to make some of these changes in order for these programs and services to work. So if you sign up for BC Mindreader, they don't inundate you with a lot of emails or surveys. It's kind of a nice flow, but then this gives you a voice, and it really helps someone like myself on the BC Chamber advocate and to know what's on BC's mind to help amplify your impact. So I will leave it there. I will stop sharing and I will turn it back over to Jeremy.
Perfect. Are there any questions for either of our guests? Okay, perfect. All right, so thank you, Aleece.
Leo's got a question.
Oh, Leo.
Yeah.
Leo, hold on, I'm gonna unmute you. Okay, you're live.
Killjoy. Everybody's about to get out. No, I don't. I just want to say thanks to Al. This was great. Really appreciate it. A lot of stuff was affirmation, but some good ideas too. I know through Zoom and go to meetings and whatnot, I realized today, kind of lazy with agendas, and I'm someone who really believes in agendas too. So even that alone has been a bit of a wake-up call. I think through having to level up tech-wise, you're just worried about getting on and getting everybody on and being able to communicate and not looking like a low-tech individual.
Yeah.
But, I think agendas are really important. So for that alone, I say thanks a lot.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks, Leo. I saw Val had a question too.
Yeah. So Aleece, a few years ago, we redid our mission and vision. And in your experience, so our mission, and we kept our mission short and sweet, it's enriching lives, strengthening communities. But it is pretty vague. It's very, it's not super concrete. Our vision is more concrete. It's people of all abilities live to their potential with dignity, choice, and opportunity. And we really shortened it because it used to be like a paragraph long.
Yeah.
But I guess, is your experience with mission statements, should they be a little bit more concrete than abstract? Or would everyone here know what enriching lives, strengthening communities? Would you hunker to guess what we did?
I would have no idea. I mean, I think for myself, I would think, again, with Make Greater, that Amplify had is make greater bread, make greater flowers. Are you a florist and you're enriching lives because you deliver beautiful flowers?
Yeah.
So being a little bit more clear just helps people go, okay. I mean, it doesn't have to be the shortest thing in the world. Like, it's not about length, even though paragraphs are hard to remember.
Yeah.
It's really making it clear for people so they go, okay, tell me more about that. That sounds pretty exciting. So when I tell people we help clarify your message to amplify your impact, they're like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Tell me more. I know it has something to do with my messaging and branding, and I want to have my impact amplified. So it's creating that opportunity for people to ask that question. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, Sean, you had a question as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we're going to be doing some more work with Aleece around our communication strategy in particular, because one thing that we knew we should be doing but didn't quite know how to do it is getting our story out there, like the story of our heroes, our clients. And so in terms of our communication and engagement going forward, we're doing some more work with Aleece, but we don't quite know what that's going to look like yet, but we're excited about that as well.